Welcome to New Broker, the podcast dedicated to providing insights and inspiration for building a new broking business.
Hello and welcome back to New Broker. It's your host for today, Annie Kane, and we're doing another episode of New Broker this week as we're talking to one of the recent MFAA New South Wales Award winners in the form of Joseph Daoud from It's Simple Finance. Now, if you weren't at the MFAA New South Wales Awards, then you might not know Joseph, but he's been broking for about 4 years, having launched his own brokerage properly really last year. So in this episode of New Broker, we brought him into the studio to find out how he's been building his business, what his plans are for the year ahead, and why he loves broking. Thanks for joining us, Joseph. How are you going?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so exciting to be on here because you see all the high-level brokers that, you know, you bring on and all the achievements that they've done in the industry. And then, hey, Joe, do you want to come on? I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, I'm part of all right, this is awesome. So it is, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's super exciting. So thank you.
Hopefully we'll just have a fun conversation today, not be too nerve-wracking. But I think the thing that's always great about this podcast is getting to share people's stories and see where they've come from and what they're planning to do in the future. And I think you're a relatively new broker.
Yeah.
But for anyone who's not yet met you, Joseph, do you want to give us an overview, I guess, of how long you've been broking for and why you joined this industry in the first place?
So I have been in the broking industry or the lending industry since 2018. The reason why is because my father had a heart attack. So it was October 2018. Dad's got a business. He's got employees. He's got people that depend on him, and someone needs to step in. I spent the next 12 months from November 2018 to November 2019, basically wrapping everything up for my dad. Managing the business. He was in the construction industry. So imagine how difficult it was going from banking and finance into construction. You're going from white collar, everyone's in a suit, phone calls all day, to going on site and you're dealing with tradies. Completely different thing. So it was a very, very big culture shock for me, but I enjoyed every moment of it because it made me who I am. But after working for yourself for a period of time, you realize that maybe I don't want to go back into the corporate life and, you know, be working for other people. So 2019, Dad's business wraps up and...
Was he okay?
He's fine.
Oh, good.
Thankfully. He's now got a personal trainer. He does trade 3 times a week. He's getting there. He's got 15 beautiful grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah, so he got
busy.
Yeah.
A busy grandpa.
Youngest of 5, you know, so there's a lot of us. But essentially what ended up happening was 2019, we wrapped everything up and I go, what am I going to do? So I always remembered what clients would say to me on the phone at Macquarie. They said, thank you for making it simple. Thank you for making it simple. Thank you for making it simple. So I just went online and I said, itssimple.com.au, is it taken? No. Oh, that's pretty lucky. So I registered the domain. I registered my ABN. It was the end of the year, so I didn't think it was an appropriate time to, you know, launch to market and say, oh, I'm this broker and all this stuff. And then we come back and COVID hits.
Yeah, so unfortunate. What bad timing with COVID coming up in early 2020. So you're just starting the business and
Correct.
COVID hits. So then did you decide to carry on? Like, did you already have all your accreditations and everything at this point?
No.
So you were just still getting trained up, doing all your learnings? Yeah.
Registering for the MFAA. Okay. And I'm not too sure if you remember how difficult it was getting a hold of people on the phone between March 2020 and September 2020. It was not easy. No one knows what's going on. Everyone's working from home. You know, it was unprecedented times. And as we all know now, thankfully we're on the other side of it, but it was the most chaotic thing. And I just said to myself, okay, let's just start making some videos. Just some videos on home loans. Let's advertise to first home buyers. Okay. And let's just make an educational Instagram page and an educational YouTube page. That's when I came up with Home Loan University. And I wasn't even giving people call to actions. I was just explaining, different policies that were coming out. And then towards the end of 2020, when we were allowed to go see people again, it was time to choose an aggregator. Okay. So remember, it was like 7-8 months of me not trading. And then it was, okay, let's get into this. Let's make this a legitimate brokerage. And I started to contact different aggregators, and I still remember all the phone calls. And then Daniel K. Roos from Vow contacts.
Now YBR aggregation.
But he contacts me and he goes, I'm going to come see you. And he was the first BDM to offer that, but he was also the first person to sit down with me and listen to what I wanted to do. And he was like, this is fantastic. Okay, this is how YBR or Vow can support you. And to me, a lot of business is done via relationships. Can I call you? Can I contact you? Will you answer a text message? And he answered all of those questions quite quickly for me. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, okay, I'm going to go with these guys just because they've shown the most support. I don't know where Daniel was in his career at the time, but all I know is he seemed the hungriest. And you go to the people that are going to service you best. So having that relationship with him, I know you know this. I don't know if the listeners do. I've recently had a baby boy. I've invited Daniel to the christening already.
Aww.
I love the bloke.
It's a brand new baby boy.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But it's so
That's
great to hear that, your aggregator was sort of, really hands-on. And particularly, I think, in those sort of that time period, 2020, 2021, when it was like still kind of stop-start lockdowns, depending on where you were in the country. Here in Sydney, our lockdown pretty much finished in September 2020, I think.
And then we had another one.
And then we had another one later, yeah. So I think sort of looking at how you kind of manage all of that when relationships were really important and when people contact, I think, was really paramount for so many people operating on their own. I think that's wonderful to hear the sort of people going above and beyond. So you'd already done a lot of foundational work in 2020, doing all your educational videos and kind of building a sort of brand. Then you had It's Simple registered, you launched as a broker, you got accredited and everything.
Yeah.
But then how long did it take before you actually wrote your first loan?
Quite a bit of time.
So what were you doing in between?
I was director, non-loan writer. So I had my accreditations with, I believe, St. George, Westpac, Macquarie, and a few of the other smaller guys, because it wasn't a stringent process. If you remember at the time, CBA was very heavy on being selective with their brokers.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you credit if you had less than 2 years experience.
Correct.
So, yeah.
NAB, I think NAB, I submitted my application, but I didn't even follow up at the time, just because I was focused on generating leads for the individuals that were working in my business. So I was solely focused on being a director non-loan writer. So the people that were working in the team were accredited brokers. They went through the MFAA. They got their diplomas. They got their certificate. They got their certificate 4s. They got their diplomas. They had over 2 years worth of experience, and they were within the team, and they were taking the leads that I was bringing in, servicing those clients and ensuring that they would settle on time as well. So I was basically focusing on being a lead magnet for the business, and then just driving those leads towards the brokers. But understanding all the processes, I was realizing that I was solving a lot of these problems for the individuals in my team who weren't implementing those solutions as quickly as I was. So my wife moved back from New York, and then we got married towards the end of 22, and she wanted to do traveling. I wanted a little bit of a break because of COVID. And when we got back, it was the end of 2023. I turned to her and I go, I'm going for absolutely everything. I'm going to get all my accreditations. I'm going to focus on being the best broker I can be.
So once you kind of had a couple of years under your belt and you'd already developed, sort of a lead pipeline, you then decided after you got married that you were going to become a loan writer in your own right.
Correct.
So then why make that move?
I just thought to myself, this is my business. I've got to lead from the front. I can't have other people within the business telling me if a loan will work or if a loan won't work, especially when we have 40 lenders on our panel. There is always a solution if you're willing to look hard enough. And my first loan, one of my friends, a friend calls me and goes, hey, I've got these friends. They live in a red brick apartment and they want to grow. They want to grow their family. They've got a baby. What can you do for them? Fantastic. I thought to myself, I'm going to go see them. I want to make sure that I meet these people and I understand and they can understand what I want to do for them. So they invited me to their home. Yet again, old apartment in one of Sydney's western suburbs. And I went through their loan accounts and I went through their property valuation. And I still remember they had $114,000 in debt remaining, but the apartment was worth $400,000. If you quickly take 80% of that, it was $206,000 worth of equity. They thought to themselves they were going to have to wait another year and a half to be able to purchase a property. But I quickly recognized that the property market's gone up and I go, guys, we've got a lender that will do a 40-year loan term with monthly LMI if you do want to go buy a more expensive property. So rather than focusing on using a 20% deposit, I was explaining to them, if we use a 10% deposit, it might cost you a little bit more upfront now in your monthly repayments. However, you're going to gradually be able to refinance that debt and move to a major lender afterwards. So after I explained the two different loan products to them, we refinanced the first property, okay? And that became an investment loan because they were now searching for an owner-occupied property. Mm-hmm. And then they quickly found an owner-occupied property. I still remember I went with them to the auction. I've got the video of it because I didn't want them overbidding. I didn't want them to go over their pre-approval. I was so nervous because this was my first loan. Like I was like, no, I've got to make sure this is taken care of. So I go to the auction with them and they got to $1 million. So they had $100,000 from that equity, okay, for the deposit, but they also needed the money for the stamp duty, which was $39,000 at the time. So $140,000, and they've still got about $60,000 remaining in equity, which they left in their offset account. So they purchased the property and it settled January 23rd, 2024. I still remember that. So it was the most exciting thing in the world because I helped someone that thought that they were going to have to wait 18 months to purchase their next property, be able to purchase in 3 months. And once I realized, hey, if we use multiple lenders or if we know the different policies, that is when you can truly help someone. You know, for example, just off the top of my head, ANZ's 1 year self-employed policy or Bankwest's 1 year self-employed policy. A&P's I think is fantastic as well. But once these guys started to come in and you understood the different niches that they had within those 1 year self-employed policies, we quickly realized that we can service so many small business owners in Australia just by knowing all these different things. So that's what we really started to focus in on.
Well, it's funny because I think like this is also, again, like such a great sort of story for why brokers are so valued by borrowers, because a lot of the time they know the niches. I don't think many people would know you can get a 40-year loan, and there's only a few lenders that will offer that because, of course, that not many people love the idea of being in debt for that long. But if you can kind of be like, it's a stepping stone to get you somewhere else, and we can maybe look at reducing that later on, you know, and just being able to find that kind of solution is really interesting.
The best part about that product was the monthly LMI. So rather than paying a massive lump sum, $16,000, $18,000 up front, instead they would do it monthly and it would be stretched over the 40 years. But when you refinance, you also don't have to pay the outgoing balance of whatever your lender's mortgage insurance was. So if you've paid $4,000 out of $18,000 in the first year, then you've only had to pay the $4,000. So it's either we put another 10% deposit, don't pay lender's mortgage insurance, which would have been another $100,000 for these individuals, or they pay that $4,000 in monthly LMI, which ended up being the total, and then refinance once the equity grew. And that actually happened sooner than later. So we refinanced them 8 months later.
Didn't you get clawed back?
Of course I did.
Did you not mind?
No. The most important thing to me is being able to create for other individuals. You know, if God has given me a gift in order to be able to help people, then I help people. It's not about my back pocket, it's about theirs, okay? Those same clients contacted me 2 days ago and they said, hey, we want to buy our next property.
Wow.
This isn't a transactional business. When you're a broker, you are dealing with their life savings, you're dealing with their home, you're dealing with their families. It's not supposed to be something that, oh, but I'm going to get clawed back. Who cares if I get clawed back? Okay, that's a family that I am helping. I would rather help that family than worry about my own back pocket.
Yeah.
Sorry, and you can hear the conviction in my voice. I'm so obsessed with this.
Well, I think it's also interesting because you were talking about, being excited about also talking about policy. And again, this is something that I think so many brokers are particularly when they're in their first sort of couple of years, really struggle with being like, how do I keep on top of policy? How do I find these niches? How did you do it? How did you get across all the different sort of options available to you?
Relationships and developing great relationships with the BDMs. Having the conversations with them and getting them to explain it to you. A BDM would rather spend another 30 minutes explaining a policy to you so you can get it right every single time, as opposed to spending 2 minutes with you and then every deal that you submit has a rework and there's complaints and all that stuff. So, for example, Omar Ibrahim, when of St. George Bank, he's my BDM. When the nurse and midwife policy came out where nurses and midwives could purchase up to 85%, as long as they, certain income thresholds, all that stuff. When that came out, I spoke to him and I go, how can I make sure that I can service more nurses, more midwives? And he went through the policy step by step. It has to be, only one of the parties has to be a nurse or a midwife. You don't have to have two individuals part of the Medico policy. And when that came out, he spent the time with me, but I think we ended up submitting four or six clients. I can't remember which policies this was. It was either 4 or 6 clients that we submitted to St. George for that policy. Why? Because that was a policy that came in to help nurses and midwives. And that only occurred because I sat down with Omar. I got him to explain it to me. Take the notes. So you're asking me the question of when you're a new broker, how do you do? Write down what they're saying to you, go back to it. And then my favorite thing to ask BDMs, don't tell me the unicorn stories. Don't tell me the hero stories. Tell me where things went wrong so we don't make those mistakes. The wise man learns from his mistakes. The wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. And I always want to make sure that every deal that we submit is a one-touch formal approval.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you're kind of getting that way because in FY24, you settled 20 mil. So that was your first year.
Yep.
FY25, 200 mil. Is that right?
201.
201 million, which is an outrageous leap. So I want to talk to you about how you're actually writing loans and what your process is, and we'll get into it just after this message. So Joseph, you in FY25, so just wrapped up, $201 million settled. Yes. Is that as you? Is that the whole company? Like what's included in that figure? Those are all my leads. Wow. Okay, these are all coming from referral partners and social media. You will often hear brokers say, I need more referral partners. I have 2 referral partners. They both ruin my life, okay? But they ruin it in a good way. Yeah.
Developing those relationships. How do we get to that number? It's by providing those solutions. We're in an industry where there's 22,000 brokers. We are in an industry where we are competing now against banks that have billion-dollar marketing budgets. How do you separate yourself? Well, why don't you go sit with the accountant as opposed to cold calling them? Because I can guarantee you that 200 brokers have cold called them that week and said, hey, would you like to build a referral partnership? I can give you 50%. That's silly. Why don't you go to their office? Why don't they take you through one of their client scenarios and why don't you provide them a solution to it? And you can only get that way if you listen to the BDMs, you understand the policy, and you actually sit with those accountants, with those referral partners, and understand what the client's pain points are. Is the client trying to grow or are they trying to save money? Is the client, trying to acquire acquire another business, or are they trying to develop a townhouse project? Are they looking to build a granny flat? But sitting with those individuals, you'll be able to quickly discover what the pain points are. And that's how you keep the referral partner sticky as well. And a lot of the time, it's just sitting with a referral partner and understanding what is going on. Accountants are going to be your best referral partners. I will always say that. If you have a great accountant that you're working with, they will build your business like crazy, especially if they've got self-employed individuals working for them, not working for them, as their clients. So you ask me, how do you get to that $201 million number? Well, it's building great relationships, but it's also showing people the solutions. I focused on 4 key pillars in my social media. Number 1, educational. Number 2, promotional. Number 3, case studies, which is part of the educational format. And then number 4, the Just Finance post. So what my Just Finance post, I always saw real estate agents do just sold. And I go to myself, why aren't people doing this with finance? And I just started doing it. I go, okay, well, this is the property, this is the area, this is how much we funded, and this was the interest rate. You know, I'm not including the address. I'm not including, the client's names
Personal
or anything.
Details,
Nothing like that. I am removing any sensitive data that might be contained in the photo. So like, letterbox number or something like that. And I'm making sure that I'm doing it all correctly. And when I started doing those things, people started looking and they go, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that you could do that. Oh, I didn't know nurses could borrow 85, 90%. Oh, I didn't know doctors could borrow 95%. People were coming to me because I was explaining the scenario as well. And then by doing that and doing it consistently, that's what really started to attract a lot of business towards us. So
the combination of social and also then having that the accounting sort of referral
Correct.
partners, that's where you're getting all your
So
business.
I still remember we had 1 month where we did like $68.8 million worth of submissions
Wow.
in September. Oh, no. It was chaos.
Yeah.
People say, oh, where did you get these leads? All this kind of stuff. I'm like, guys, this is the pipeline. This isn't, how did you get these leads? These are clients that have re-engaged with us. These are people that we've been working with for the last 3 months coming back and we're submitting the deal. Like people think, oh, you just got $68.8 million worth of deals in a month. No, that's not how this works.
Takes time.
It takes time. But that's why I keep saying relationships. That's the biggest thing. And be a good person.
How are you actually getting that sort of volume of loans done? Because of course it requires a lot of quick, fast work to make sure everyone's settling in time, that they're finding their properties or able to find properties they want to buy, and that they're able to go to the auctions, whether or not you're with them, and kind of getting that all done. Yeah, it'll be a lot otherwise. But then so walk me through your process. What does its simple finance process look like?
Okay, so lead comes in. So we've got a 55-page manual. Okay, systems and processes, how we're going through each and every single item. Client comes in, and the broker from the stop, me, completes the fact find. I'm also the person that completes all the document collection. I'm also the person that starts, that I will then send out the privacy guide as well. Yeah, making sure I'm getting every single part of the process here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy guide first, then we go to the document collection. Then after that, we start workshopping the deal. When you ask me the different technologies that I use, okay, Quickly is such a great tool. Eric and his partner, Eric and Angus, they've built out such a great system for us to quickly be able to say, okay, this looks like an appropriate lender for this individual. Fantastic. So we start sending out the email. So we've got templated emails for scenarios. So it'll be, this is the client, this is the job role that they're in, this is how long they've been employed, or this is how long they've been self-employed. This is the industry that they came from. This is the industry that they're moving to. We're always making sure that we send those emails, but you have to have those templates built out. Because if you have those templates built out, it's going to save you 30 minutes of thinking, oh, did I miss something? No, get it right the first time. Build out your foundation the first time, and then that way you can execute on it in the long run. After that, we send out the scenarios to the different BDMs. I believe I have good relationships with my BDMs. Because I have that, they respond to me, okay? Whether it's within 2 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours. I will always chase up that response. Then I'll set reminders to myself. You need to set the reminders, okay? Just in case. I set the reminders for myself to follow up, to make sure, hey, have we gotten the solution for that client yet? Is it a no? Okay, we have to try another lender. Do we have to look at the third tier lenders? So we start workshopping it that way as well. Now, you're saying to me, this takes a lot of time. It doesn't if you have the right systems and processes in place. So after we finish the document collection, we've completed the servicing calculator, we've gone through the scenarios, we've gotten a high level indication that the bank would accept that scenario. Perfect. We send the 3 options to our clients and then we start following them up. Don't say, hey, I've sent you your options email. Please get back to me when you can. You're leaving it very generic for the client. Hi, Annie. I've sent you the 3 options for the lenders that I think are best for you. Now, I've got some free time between 3 and 4 p.m. and 5 and 6 p.m. if you want to go through your options then. Best time to be able to call me. I want to be able to get this done as quickly as possible for you so that we can help you reach your goal. Save money, acquire another property, tap into equity, debt consolidation. Please make sure you call me at these times. What does that create? That creates scarcity in the mind of the borrower. Oh, I've got to contact them between 3 and 4 p.m. or 5 or 6 p.m. and I've got to make a decision. Perfect. They've made the decision. Then it gets moved to our offshore team for data entry. They're the ones that then grab it and they do all the data entry for apply online. We also make sure that we have our broker notes template, and we make sure that we cover every single bit of the broker notes, whether it's, and now in the commercial space, I'm covering DSCR, ICR, CAR, working capital, all those different ratios. I need to make sure that I'm covering all those things because I don't want the lender to come back to me and say, oh, you missed this thing. No, it's right there in the broker note.
Yeah.
So we're super thorough with the way that we do things. It's by providing that consistent customer service, quality of service, attention to detail, and making sure you execute for every single one. It's a step-by-step process.
So how many people are actually in the team?
We've got 3 offshore right now, but that's within the last 2 months. We've got Ashley, my executive assistant. We've got Troy, my operations manager, who is fantastic, my God. And then we've got our newcomer, Matt, who's also going to be working with Ashley as a loan writer assistant as well. And then we've recently brought on a BDM, and this is Milad. So Milad has come from the world of asset finance and has recently joined our team. And the reason I've brought on a BDM, and I know a broker bringing on a BDM.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, what does that mean?
Build more partnerships. So I want to build more referral partnerships so we can service more individuals, because it's all well and good that I've got 2 referral partners. But a broker could walk in the next day and say, hey, I'm going to give you 100% of your upfront commission and I just want the trail. That can happen. So I want to make sure that we are always covered on all bases and we can grow the business too. So yeah, we've got 5.
I think that's 7.
No.
3 offshore.
No, the offshore as well.
Oh, you're not counting the offshore. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just talking about the offshore. But yeah, so we've got 7 in total now.
Yeah. So how did you, looking at the offshore thing and you were saying, they're fairly recent additions, how do you actually manage a team offshore? Because I think a lot of people are slightly worried when they have to hire someone, internally it takes a big step to actually hire someone to work next to you, to kind of talk things through. But because they're next to you, you can kind of see what they're doing. You can walk things through very quickly. But when they're in a different country or in a different state, it can be quite hard to manage that. So how do you make sure that the people who are working offshore are able to follow the process in the way that you want them to?
You have to build it out. You have to build it out, the step-by-step process, and you have to be extremely detailed on how you want them to execute. And then once you do make the hire, you have to spend that time training them, okay? And this is why I love Troy. Okay, so I was talking about my chief of ops before. Troy's key role is to make sure that they are trained, because he wants to make sure that we create an effective system that can settle as many loans as possible. We don't want to be in a place of, we get all these leads, but we can't service the individual. We want the person to come to our brokerage and say, I had a fantastic experience there. Why? Because we made sure it was simple. And his methodology is, let's train them. Let's spend 6 to 7 hours every single day training these individuals so that they can be autonomous, they can be fulfilled, but they also know that they are within their guidelines and they are providing the effective service that we need in our business.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. We're going to take a quick break here, Joseph. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about what's next for you, what you've got focused for FY26 and beyond, the biggest challenges and opportunities you see in broking, and your top advice for new brokers. And we'll get into that just after this.
Okay.
So, Joseph, you were mentioning there about, all of the kind of work you've been doing with nurses, for example, and self-employed borrowers. And this brings me nicely, I think, to what you're kind of doing next, because you're launching a sort of sub-brand or a separate brand to It's Simple.
Correct.
Focusing on medical finance. Walk me through why do that and what that actually means. What does that entail?
So I have 2 doctors that sit, that are friends of mine. They live in Victoria. And they sit on a number of the boards of the associations and everything. And I contacted them and I said, hey, would you guys like to be referral partners of mine? They turn to me and they go, no, actually, we want to be business partners. And I go, okay, that's different. So we started hashing some things out and we said to ourselves, is there a broker group in Australia right now that is specializing in taking care of all parts medical, all parts allied health? We quickly discovered there's a number of fantastic businesses out there, but there's also room for growth. There is opportunity within the market. So we said to each other, we go, okay, who do we need to ensure that this is an effective business and can succeed? luckily for me, my business mentor, Adrian Hondros, is the former director or ex-GM of CBA and a former ex-GM of NAB. And he was a part of the team that launched Medfin and CBA's health team.
Very helpful.
So I have a meeting with him and I tell him about this and he goes, oh, I directed these two businesses. I go, what? And I go, okay, so what do we do? And he's like, exactly what you're doing now, but you have to tailor your marketing towards doctors and you have to focus on the relationships. So I've got my two doctors, okay, who are sitting on a number of the associations that can assist us in advertising within the hospital networks or within the sporting networks or the PD days that they have. And then on the other side of it, I also have my wife, who's an optometrist, who countless amounts of times, she has come to me and she said, no optometrist or no one in health actually understands any of this stuff. And they just go to a broker or they go to someone and they just follow their advice because that's how they're sort of wired. They're like, okay, if they're the professional, I have to listen to them. Perfect example, my wife's best friend is a cardiologist and she contacted me. She goes, I need help with my loan. She went to the broker that was employed by the hospital. So the hospital has an employed broker.
All right.
And her pre-approval was $800,000. She comes to me and I went through it all. I go, we can get you approved for $1.019 million at Westpac. And she goes, are you sure? I go, yeah. And I tell this story because you and I actually discussed this at the awards night. It was my fastest approval to date. I have beaten it now, but that was my fastest approval to date with Westpac. Submission to approval, 3 hours and 38 minutes.
And that is incredible. Yeah, well.
Yeah. They made a conscious decision to make a serious investment on their credit team. They focused on making sure that every credit officer has a contactable phone. That's something that they didn't have. That start of 24, they did not have that.
Yeah.
Mid 24, everyone could contact you. This is my number. Please reach out to me. And by making that change, they actually got a large volume of our business because, hey, guess what? We could talk to people now.
Yeah. So do you see medical finance as kind of being more of a lead generation source, or do you going to sort of see it as a separate brokerage? Like, do you have plans to kind of put separate brokers in there?
Separate brokers.
Yeah.
Originally, it was supposed to be a referral partnership lead generation source because I thought, yeah, these are two of my doctor friends. This could be a different source of income for them. And then we quickly discovered there's a gap in the market and we can capitalize on this. So yeah, we're very excited. We're starting in Melbourne first. I know I'm based here in Sydney, but my doctors are in Melbourne and somehow some of my best referral partners now are in Melbourne. So yeah, we're going to focus on that too.
I think the other thing that's sort of looking at, I mean, you sort of talking to me earlier about, the fact that obviously you're really kind of passionate and you love the broking industry. But I think what's really interesting is that you yourself kind of only really started loan writing a couple of years ago, but having been in the industry for longer than that, now looking at the next generation of brokers and actually mentoring yourself,
Yes.
which is kind of interesting for someone who's only been in broking for about 2 years themselves, like on the tools. So why did you decide to do that? And how does that, what does that entail? How does that work?
What happened when I had to become a broker is I had to attach myself to an endorsed mentor because I didn't have 2 years of experience in banking industry. And in our industry now, what I have quickly discovered is there are third-party companies that are able to provide certificate 4s and diplomas within 24 to 48 hours if you complete their assessments. And there are also a lot of individuals who are taking advantage of the endorsed mentorship programs and just charging brokers out there a fee and just
no service.
No service.
Yeah.
I don't want to attack anyone or antagonize anyone, but to go out there and say, yep, I'm going to be an endorsed mentor to this new to industry broker who is trusting me in their hands, who I am charging $600 to $1,500 a month for them to be under my umbrella for 2 years. I just thought that I could possibly elevate that, or I could possibly do better in that space. So the reason we took the larger space in Barangaroo is specifically for the endorsed mentorship program, because I want people to be able to come in. I want to be able to have monthly workshops. I didn't build a boardroom, an 18 square meter boardroom for fun. I built it so that we can have 8 to 10 individuals in there at a time. We can discuss, what are your pain points? Are your pain points getting a client to decide whether they want to come with you, or are your pain points the credit side of it? I want to make sure that anyone that comes to me, and I said it before, is wealthier after it. And that's either through property or education. And I'm proud to say that I'm moving into the endorsed mentorship side of it, because that way I can ensure that I'm making an impact in this industry. And I think if I've got something, if I've got a gift and I can use it, why not?
So looking at then a fairly busy year ahead with all of the new initiatives, the mentoring program, the new office, also the medical finance brand, lots of things coming down the pipeline. Where do you see yourself in like 4 or 5 years? Like, where do you hope you're doing? What do you hope you're doing and where do you hope you are?
That's a very good question. Helping Australians. And I know that's a very generic answer, but right now in Australia, we don't have enough dwellings being approved. We see a massive shortage in the market, and we also see cost of living rising. So if I'm able to impact that and help 100 people, which I have, if I'm able to help on a larger scale, 5 years' time, that's something I would love. And I know that was a very generic answer, but it's all about making sure that we can just continue to help people.
And then looking at kind of, I guess, what you do to unwind and de-stress, and with a newborn baby and getting up at 3 a.m., which I imagine now would be a few more interrupted sleep patterns coming on. What else do you do to kind of, I guess, unwind and de-stress? Because it's still always super important to have some time, I think, for yourself and for your own mental well-being. Like, what do you do to look after yourself apart from the early wake-ups?
I'm going to make you laugh. I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So I watch a lot of Harry Potter theory videos on YouTube when I need to unwind. But I am big on meditation and the cold showers. Love Harry Potter, Game of Thrones up until season 7. Unfortunate. Lord of the Rings. They're my favorite thing. And I don't even watch the movies anymore. I re-listen to the audiobooks every so often. And when I say every so often, I mean when I'm in the gym. And then I'll listen to like a Harry Potter theory podcast, which is a 55-minute podcast just about, was Sirius Black actually innocent or was he psychotic? Did he have a mental breakdown when he got caught? And I know it's the nerdiest thing in the world, but I do love it.
Yeah.
And I'm a massive basketball fan too. So, I love the Los Angeles Lakers. If I could watch as much NBA as possible, I went on a game show and I won because of my LeBron James knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, really random, but like it was this. It's a funny video, but I love my NBA as well.
What show was it?
Mastermind on the BBC.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool as well. So,
And it was on LeBron James.
yes, specifically.
Yep. Wow. If I could then close off, Joseph, with maybe looking at sort of any brokers who might be entering the industry for the first time, or if you were going to start your journey again, what advice would you give people in their first few months of broking?
When you open LinkedIn and you want to start connecting with people, do not believe the first person that reaches out to you and says, I've got an outsourcing company that can assist you. You're not ready for that. Do not believe the first person that says to you, I'm going to start a lead generation pipeline for you, because that's not going to happen for you either. Take it from somebody that has lost thousands of dollars because of it, okay? The advice I'm going to give you is advice that you can use every single day, by the way. Wait until you are settling 3 to 4 mil a month before you even start considering reaching out and thinking to yourself, you know what, I need someone for data entry. Focus on building up your individual brand, okay? Your organic marketing before you go and pay for paid socials, because all paid socials should be is how you are scaling yourself. So you have to, don't focus on the Google ads. Don't focus on the Facebook ads or anything. Develop your brand voice. Show people how you can create solutions for them. Be specific, okay? Don't be scared to ask questions either. BDMs want to help, because at the end of the day, the BDM that you're asking the help from, if you settle a loan in their pipeline and you're a part of their group, you're helping them reach their targets as well. Don't be scared to ask questions, and don't go and hire outsourced if you haven't built up a manual for it. We spent 3 months focusing in on the foundational structure, and we still update it. We update it every single month. Hey, this process has changed. I know I keep ramping on and we don't have much time, but AMP's recently changed to Loan App. They're not using Apply Online anymore. So we now have to change our systems and processes to match AMP, because if we have a client that's made for that bank, we need to make sure that our back office knows how to do it. Well, we have the resources for that now, okay? If you're an individual broker, Go learn how to use Loan App because you can't teach it until you know it. Anyways, yeah, that's my rant.
Awesome. Well, Joseph Daoud from It's Simple Finance, thank you so much for your time today and for
Thank you,
sharing
guys.
your story with us. And yeah, best of luck with the mentorship and the new office and medical finance and with the baby as well. And we look forward to seeing how your FY26 unfolds.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much. I know I ranted, but thank you so much for having me on.
If you've got any questions for me or for Joseph, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au, and it's Simple Finance to find out more about Joseph. He's got his own podcast as well if you want to check that out.
The Finance Show with Joe.
There we go. And if you want to find out more about how other leading brokers in Australia are running their businesses, then do subscribe to the Advisor Podcast Network via your podcast provider of choice or check out the videos on YouTube. They're all there. It's including New Broker, Elite Broker, In Focus, Women in Finance, and What's Making Headlines. We'll catch you next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.